Hello, welcome to Life for Dummies.
Because we're real dumb.
Your hosts, Ashley
And Cindy.
So what are we talking about today, Sin?
I thought we should talk about self-imposed limits.
Oh, wow, that's very deep. Tell me about it.
Well, for a long time, I thought I was only good for certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I thought, you look a certain way, so, well, you're just pretty, and that's all you're good for.
Oh, yeah. You're going to keep going, I know, but let me just say something real quick. So I used to hang out with people, and I used to live on a yacht. And that was honestly the way that it was. The girls just sat around and didn't really talk or anything, but we were just pretty.
Yeah, and that's really sad. It has taken a long time to get to a point in my life where I'm like, you know what, you're good for a lot of things. Like, you're smart, you're nice, you're kind, you're caring. You have a lot of life experience. And what you look like is just one part of that. But you know what? For a long time, I thought that I was only good for certain things. And those self imposed limits that I put on myself were very damaging to my internal dialogue.
And what about our world today, right? Where it's almost like all of social media is kind of obsessed with looks.
Yeah. I mean, you can go on social media and people look perfect. There's all these filters you can put on your pictures. There's all kinds of things that happen, on social media, and it's just not real. It's very fake, and that's not real life. Like, real life isn't perfect and pretty. Real life can sometimes be painful and messy, honestly.
Yeah, I was I don't know, watching something or, looking at some kind of motivational things online, and one person said, life gets good in the messy. It's not about, she was like, I always thought things had to be perfect all the time for life to be good or for life to get good, but it was the exact opposite. It was in the messy when life started to get really good.
And I can totally identify with that. Not until things got messy and I got uncomfortable did my life start to get really interesting and exciting, and I became this happy, joyous, free person. It had to get real messy first, though, for me to get there.
Real messy. I know, yeah, you were just talking about it recently, how the more interesting people are the ones who look a little bit more obscure than the picture perfect, right? We kind of notice those people on the street more than anything else.
Oh, yeah. So, when I lived in New York City, I would ride the subway to work every morning, and it was 45 minutes on the subway. And, it was much more interesting to, look at people that were a little different, a little, if someone was very, very pretty, I'd be like, oh, wow, that's a very pretty person, and then move on. And, and then there's always, the one lady who's, putting her makeup on the train.
Yeah.
And you're watching her, she's making all these weird faces because she's putting mascara and lipstick on. You can't stop staring. It's, you're like, wow, that's really interesting. It's just crazy, that's where my mind goes. A little bit messy is a little bit more exciting than something that's real perfect.
Yeah, I hear you. By the way, did you know that you could get a ticket on the road if you are driving while putting on your mascara?
Has this happened to you personally?
To a girl I knew, yeah. She was driving and putting on the mascara, in the overhead
rear view.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's the public service announcement. Driving is not the time to multitask. It's just not. You should, if you're driving, that's what you should be doing.
Oh,
you should
my
be
gosh.
driving.
Girl, no time is the time to multitask for me, okay? I am not a multitasker. And, I did all this reading, though, about, focus and, death by meetings and, multitasking. Did you know that like multitasking, the word actually originated from computer processing?
I had no idea.
Yeah, totally. Like in the 80s, it like came about the word, and it regarded like how a computer very quickly can quote unquote multitask, but actually just like in, very tiny split seconds go back and forth between programs.
So yeah, so people are not really meant to multitask.
Heck no, girl. Machines are, not people.
And that's the thing, like I am a person with feelings and I can either react or respond to things. I am not a machine. And like I need to give myself some grace and respect myself enough to realize that like I am only capable of so much. And I have to be okay with that and not push myself or pressure myself to be something that I'm not.
I love that because, like, today's topic of self imposed limits or limitations, it wasn't until I went easy on myself and recognized my own humanity and the limits that it came with natural humanity that I was able to start essentially expanding the limits of what I was able to create or produce in life.
And that's really interesting. Like it comes down to like this whole self-respect thing, right? Like I am capable of certain things and like I'm not capable of other things and I have to be completely okay with that and respect my boundaries and respect the fact that like I am only one person. I am human and with that comes some flaws and some messiness and I just have to give myself grace.
Yes, and that's kind of the hardest thing to do, especially in a world where they're like, do more, be more, act more like a machine, output 100 hours of work a week, and also be a stay at home mom at the same time and a perfect wife, and.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Well, honestly, though, that's like the normal society today, okay?
I mean, it is. Like, there are unrealistic expectations put on each and every one of us. But I have also learned that, like, the biggest unrealistic expectations that were ever put on me were by me. And it all begins and ends with me, right? Like, when I've had enough and I say when, that's the turning point for me. Like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore. No, I'm not participating in this anymore. I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to go easy on myself and I'm going to stop beating myself up for every little thing that I don't think I'm doing properly.
I deserve better. That's what it comes down to. And until we're able to recognize that we actually deserve better, deserve more, deserve a life beyond our wildest dreams, not in theory, in practice, will we do what it takes to have the willingness and change our perspective to change our lives.
And that's exactly what Ashley and I have both done. Like, we have totally not just changed one thing, but we've changed everything. We have changed everything in our lives to get to the point that we are today where we get to be happy, joyous, and free. And that's what we talk about, you know? Like, let's live a happy life. And my happiness is not based on certain conditions. Like, I wake up every single day and I choose happiness over everything else because it is a choice.
Yeah, and like also, I always wanted certain things in life, but didn't have them. Instead, I was reaping a different person, a different personality, somebody who was exhausted because she was working all the time, somebody who was, pudgy or kind of like overweight because I wasn't taking care of myself properly and I was running myself ragged, someone who didn't have the relationships that she wanted, and yet I wanted all the stuff that I am today.
Mm.
And that was like what was so weird is that I wanted all of the things that I am today, which is this like kind and caring and carefree, kind of like surfer girl at the beach.
That doesn't serve.
Exactly, right? So funny. But like in Florida or someplace warm or whatever, and instead I was like stuck in Washington D.C. on the metro, going to work, going to clocking in, driving forever in the traffic, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, can I just live the Jimmy Buffett lifestyle already?"
And here you are.
Yeah, and I'm doing it without, like waking up hungover, and actually attracting all of the awesome stuff that comes with that lifestyle, that peace and that chill, relaxed vibe, right? Without the use of mind altering substances.
Which is the freedom right there, right? So, freedom from active addiction, freedom from having to live my life, you know, totally always worrying about where I'm going to get more. That's true freedom right there. And that's where the happiness comes from and the joy, not being a slave to a substance. And that is just mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed impossible. And like talking about limits, there are limits in what we're able to do in regard to change. It's not like everybody wakes up, a black belt, right? Like we have to work on this progress and this change in our recovery. We have to practice these principles over a long period of time every day until they start reaping the benefits and the results in our lives.
Yeah, I like when people say, "What do you mean you're still doing that?" And I'm like, "I'm just going to keep doing it until," right? Like, there's no stopping point, there's no race to win. Like, this is something that I will continue to do on a daily basis as long as I am still able to, because there is no end point. The end point for me is to just be happy, just live a good life, not be a slave to a substance anymore. So if I keep doing what we have done, then you know what? Like, pretty much guaranteed that I can continue to live this beautiful life that I have today, that I have worked really hard for, because it didn't just happen. There's work involved,
You've worked so hard.
as few.
The other thing too is that it's like I wanted all of these things, but I just didn't do them. It's like I would be out all night, at the bar or whatever, and then I'd be hungover the next day and I'd still have to go to work and I'd be so exhausted and all I wanted was a good night's sleep. Guess what Ashley never did? Got in bed early for a good night's sleep. The next night I still went out and I did the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, which is just total insanity. It's like what I want is available to me if I start doing the things towards getting that result.
Yeah, so back to that one thing, change everything, right? I remember this one specific evening when I lived in New York, and it was like 9 o'clock, and I was like, I'm going to bed. And like my phone, I turned my phone off. I went to bed, and I woke up in the morning, and I had like all these messages and missed phone calls, and all my friends were like, "Where are you? Are you okay? Like, what happened to you?" And I was like, "Dude, I was exhausted. I needed to go to sleep." They were like, "Wow, you went to bed at 9 o'clock?" Like, it was unheard of. Like, that is just not what you did. Like, we are going out hard every single night, and you have time to sleep when you die. Like, that was literally the mentality.
Yeah.
And now, like, my life today, 9 o'clock, I'm like, I love you, gotta get into bed, phone's off. And that's my normal nightly routine, because rest and sleep are very important for this person. My spiritual and mental state definitely depend on how I treat myself, and rest is an important part of that.
That's so interesting you say it because, it didn't click until like you just said that right now. But me getting in bed every night at 8 p.m., you getting in bed every night at 9 p.m., look at that. Like we get a lot of sleep. And guess what? Like probably we have an entire world of people who are not getting enough sleep.
Sleep is important. Like, literally, I'd never realized how important it was.
I'm sorry, I'm like laughing so hard because it's like it seems so commonsensical, but it's like we're very serious in having to have this discussion.
Yeah. Like, Ashley and I talk about it a lot to each other. We're like, wow, we sleep a lot. And yes, and when I sleep a lot, I'm well rested. I handle my emotions better. I handle life better. I handle other people better. Like, I handle everything so much better when I am well rested and taken care of, because this is mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, and like I am a natural thing. I'm more akin to the tree in my backyard than I am to the computer. Why am I trying to multitask like a computer processing system? Why shouldn't I be resting and drinking enough water and allowing myself to grow healthy towards the sun?
That just made me think like of you, like the picture. I started laughing because I just like picturing Ashley outside, like in the tree. And so I was in Ashley's wedding and we have pictures of her in the tree. So like this is normal. This is like
You guys.
yeah, I'm dying right now.
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
I mean, like, okay, fine. Like, I am a nature person, like, I probably would be a tree hugger. Like, I don't really know what that means, but, like, but I'm an advocate for nature. Okay, yeah, sure. Classify me as that because that's what I am. But, like, it is freaking true. Like, we are more like nature than we are not nature. And like there's this weird philosophy in society today where we're trying to be not nature and it is so unnatural.
It is really unnatural. Everything is, computer based and
Yeah.
social media. And, we were having a talk before this, and I was like, you know what? In my lifetime, I have seen immense changes in, like, the way our society lives. And I was telling Ashley, like, when I was a little kid, I was the remote control. Like, hey, get up and go change the channel. Like, I had to turn the dial on this big TV. We didn't have a remote control. You wanted to talk on the phone and you wanted privacy, we had a long cord. You had to go in the other room. The phone was connected to the wall. Like, things have really changed and progressed, and sometimes I really wonder if it is for the better. Because with all this technology has come a lot of like isolation, a lot of people like behind their phone or computer being unkind to one another, and it's very concerning, and there's like a lot of mental health issues that occur because of this constant like pursuit of perfection.
Yeah, and like the rates of suicide, are just like through the roof, and like and it's not like Cindy and I are anti-technology or like don't know anything about it because we've got like the best video podcast ever happening on YouTube right now.
Number one.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I don't know. It's not like we're like saying, "Oh yeah, we're grandmas," like before the internet. But what I'm at least referring to is the fact that give ourselves a break, like allow ourselves to breathe, to go through processes in life that are more an ebb and a flow, like a river. Like I've got, this river in my backyard and there are times of the year when the river water is very high up to the dock. And then there are other times of the year where it's low. The river ebbs and flows. The tree grows. The flower, dies and then is reborn again into something more beautiful. Like, we're more like that than we are like the mechanical working 100 hours a week underneath these horrible lights, without being able to see nature around us in these sterile, air conditioned environments. Like, I just don't think it's doing great things to ourselves. And I want what's best for you.
Yeah, and it goes back to these self-imposed limits, right? It all goes back to this, what we started talking about the very beginning of this podcast. That when we put these types of limitations on ourselves, nothing else is possible. We don't grow. We don't blossom. We don't bloom. Like, we don't change for the better. We just kind of stay stuck. So,
Wow.
like this is your opportunity. Put down your phone, turn off the computer, go outside, enjoy the peace and quiet that nature has to offer us. and get some exercise. Do something good for yourself today.
Mm-hmm.
Be kind.
And go to sleep.
Lots of sleep. Well, we're going to wrap it up with that. Get some rest, go for a walk, drink some water. Take care of yourself.
We
You
love
are
you.
worth it. We love you.